Uh, I don't know what to say. He is the best that's ever played, I think. So, yeah, I don't know.
Something happened on that pitch in Atlanta that nobody was supposed to see. A glance, a word, a moment between Jude Bellingham and Lionel Messi that the cameras caught, and the internet exploded before anyone actually knew what was said. For 48 hours, nobody talked. Not Bellingham, not Messi, silence. And then, out of nowhere, Erling Haaland spoke, not about the goals, not about the scoreline, about something he saw in that match that he says he can't stop thinking about. What did he see? What actually happened between Messi and Bellingham? And why did it take a moment like this to make one of the best strikers on the planet admit that he's watching Messi with something close to disbelief? Stay until the end, because Messi himself finally addressed the fear that's been sitting with him this entire tournament, and it changes how you'll watch Sunday's final. Let's set the scene, because you need to understand exactly what was at stake. Argentina walked into that semifinal in Atlanta as the reigning World Cup champions, and reigning champions carry a target on their back that regular teams don't. Every match isn't just a match. It's a referendum on whether the last 4 years actually meant something. England, on the other hand, arrived battle-tested, dangerous, and hungry to do what they haven't done in decades, end an Argentine golden era on the biggest stage there is. For most of the night, it looked like they might actually do it. England took the lead. The clock kept bleeding away. Argentina's fans in the stands went quiet in that specific way that only happens when a nation starts preparing itself for heartbreak. And then, in the final minutes, Messi. Not a goal himself. Something arguably harder. 2 assists, back-to-back, in the dying minutes of the match, first pulling Argentina level and then flipping the entire game upside down. 2-1. Argentina survives. Argentina advances. England is gone. But the score wasn't the only story that came out of that stadium. Somewhere in the middle of that chaos, cameras caught something else. A tense, close-up exchange between Bellingham and Messi after a contested ball. Words. A look. The kind of moment broadcasters replay in slow motion because it looks explosive, even before anyone knows what was actually said. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Clips. Freeze frames. Captions asking whether Messi and Bellingham had it out on the pitch, whether there was real tension between the game's aging icon and the player many see as the heir to his throne. The kind of moment where everyone has a theory, and almost nobody has the facts. Eventually, Bellingham himself stepped in to put it to rest. According to his own account, it was nothing more than a mix-up over which foul they were even discussing. He thought Messi was referencing an earlier incident, said as much, and the confusion cleared itself up almost as fast as it started. No confrontation, no disrespect, just 2 competitors sorting something out in real time, the way players do 100 times a match without anyone noticing. Bellingham didn't stop there. He made a point of saying that sharing a pitch with Messi, even in defeat, even in devastating, gutting defeat, was something close to an honor. That whatever the cameras thought they captured, there was no bad blood behind it. It should have ended the story. For most players, it would have. But this is Messi, and apparently, somebody else had been watching that match a lot more closely than anyone realized. Because a few days later, Erling Haaland, a man who has spent his career being described as the most physically dominant striker of his generation, came out and said something that caught everyone off guard. He wasn't talking about tactics. He wasn't talking about the controversy. He was talking about Messi's body and what it's still doing at an age when, by every rule of sports science, it shouldn't be doing this anymore. Haaland reportedly admitted that after the final whistle, he didn't celebrate, didn't analyze, didn't reach for his phone. He just sat there, silent. Because what he'd just watched wasn't a normal performance from a normal 39-year-old football player. It was something that, in his words, felt like it was operating outside the usual rules of the sport entirely. Here's the number that apparently stopped him cold. 9 successful dribbles in a single match against an England defense that had weeks to prepare specifically for him. Reports point out that Messi has now put up that exact same dribble count in a World Cup knockout match twice. Once as a 23-year-old against Germany back in 2010, and now again at 39. 16 years apart. Same number. same magnitude of stage. Haaland, as a striker himself, knows exactly how brutal that is to pull off even once, let alone twice, a generation and a half apart. Dribbling at that level isn't just footwork. It's explosiveness. It's fast twitch power. It's the kind of physical trait that is supposed to decline the moment a player crosses 30, let alone 39. Every striker knows this. It's why so many great dribblers become passers by their mid-30s. Their bodies force the change. Messi apparently didn't get that memo. And it's not just the dribbling. By several tallies, Messi now sits on a stretch of World Cup assists that no player has matched since 1966. The majority of them coming in knockout rounds, when the pressure is highest and the margin for error basically disappears. Not friendlies, not group stage matches against overmatched opponents, the biggest games against the best defenses when everybody else on the pitch is playing not to lose. That's the part that Holland reportedly zeroed in on. Not that Messi is still good, but that he's still doing his best work specifically when the stakes are unbearable. Plenty of talented players get quieter under pressure. Messi, at an age when his legs have every right to betray him, keeps getting louder. There's a deeper point buried in what Haaland was getting at too, something every young striker coming up behind Messi and Haaland's generation should probably sit with. It isn't only about speed or fitness, it's about audacity. The willingness to still attempt the impossible move in the biggest moment without hesitation, because doubt is often what actually ages a player faster than their body does. A lot of players who are physically capable of dribbling at 39 don't, because somewhere along the way, they lost the belief that they still could. Messi apparently never lost that belief, and that, more than any statistic, might be the real story here. Which brings us to Messi himself, because in the moments after the final whistle, he didn't sound like a man who'd just delivered a miracle. He sounded like a man who knew exactly how close it came to going the other way. Speaking to Thai Sports, Messi didn't downplay the stakes of facing England. If anything, he leaned into just how much heavier this match felt than a typical knockout tie. Emotional from the anthem onward, and carrying a weight that went beyond football. And then came the admission that a lot of fans didn't expect. Messi said he understood that losing this match, even as reigning champions, even with everything this group has already accomplished, would have opened the door to unfair criticism back home. Not because the team owed anyone anything, but because that's simply the standard Argentina holds itself to. Win the last one, and it's not enough. You have to win the next one too, or the doubts creep back in. He made it clear the group felt they were the better side on the pitch that night, even while trailing late, and that belief is exactly what let them keep pushing instead of folding when the deficit looked settled. Messi also used the moment to defend a roster that had drawn plenty of skepticism heading into the tournament, given injuries and fitness concerns among key players. His response, in essence, this group finds another gear specifically when it's counted out. That when they come together under pressure, they draw something out of each other that doesn't show up on paper. And then, almost as an aside, Messi said something that's been quietly replayed as much as the Holland comments, that reaching back-to-back World Cup finals, as defending champions, is proof this run isn't luck. It's the product of 4 years of sustained excellence that, in his mind, speaks for itself regardless of outside noise. There was something almost weary in how he said it. Not arrogant, not triumphant, just tired and honest, and aware of exactly how much scrutiny comes with wearing that crown. If Messi's reaction was measured, his teammate Giuliano Simeone's reaction was the opposite. Raw, emotional, almost overwhelmed. Simeone, brought into the starting lineup for this match, didn't hide how much watching Messi up close affected him. His message was simple. Messi is 39. He's already won everything a footballer could dream of winning. He has nothing left to prove to anyone. And he's still out there fighting like it's his first tournament, not possibly his last. For Simeone, and by his account for the rest of the squad, that's what makes the current group different. When a player who has already achieved literally everything still runs himself into the ground for the badge, it changes what everyone else around him feels obligated to give. His point was blunt. The least the rest of them can do is run and fight for him, the way he's still running and fighting for all of them. It's the kind of quote that hits differently once you've seen the numbers Haaland was reacting to. This isn't a legend coasting on reputation. This is a 39-year-old still putting up the exact same explosive numbers he posted as a 23-year-old and doing it while his teammates watch, half in awe, half feeling like they owe him something in return. So let's bring this all together. There was never a real feud between Messi and Bellingham, just a split-second mix-up that the internet turned into a headline before either player had a chance to explain it. Bellingham cleared it up himself with respect, not resentment. But that controversy accidentally shone a spotlight on something much bigger. A 39-year-old somehow still performing like it's 2010 in the biggest moments, against the best defenses, when everyone else is feeling the pressure most. And it took a player like Holland, someone who has nothing to gain by praising Messi, someone who's spent his career being the physical standard everyone else is compared to look at that performance and admit that even he doesn't have a clean explanation for it. Maybe that's the real headline here. Not a fight that never happened. A legend who, at an age when he was supposed to have slowed down years ago, just delivered one of the most statistically absurd knockout performances of his entire career, and did it with the same audacity he had as a 23-year-old kid taking on Germany. Now he's one match away from history. Argentina against Spain. A chance to become just the third team ever to defend a World Cup title. Whatever happens on Sunday, what Messi did against England in that semifinal isn't going to be forgotten. It's already being talked about the way we talk about the handful of performances that outlive the players who gave them. So, knowing what Haaland said, knowing what Messi actually admitted, and knowing there was never any real beef with Bellingham at all, who do you think wins the final? Drop your prediction in the comments. And if you don't want to miss how this story ends, make sure you're subscribed before Sunday.